There are things that men struggle to admit to a woman, not because they don't care, but because vulnerability can be one of the hardest things for a man to embrace. Society has conditioned men to be strong, to always have the answers, to never show weakness. But the truth is, even the strongest man has fears, doubts, and insecurities. The problem is, most men won't tell you these things outright, 10. And if you don't understand this, you may misinterpret his distance or even his actions. Men fear failure but struggle to admit it. From a young age, men are conditioned to believe that their worth is tied to their success. Whether it's in their careers, relationships, or personal goals, they feel an immense pressure to perform at a high level. When they fall short, it's not just about missing the mark, it's about feeling inadequate. Admitting failure feels like admitting weakness, and for many men, weakness is unacceptable. Instead of openly acknowledging their struggles, they often mask their fears with distractions, defensiveness, or avoidance. They may pull away, act distant, or even become overly focused on work or hobbies to compensate. This internal battle creates emotional distance in relationships. A man who fears failure will hesitate to open up about his struggles, worried that his partner will see him as less capable or less desirable. He may downplay issues, avoid tough conversations, or even push people away to maintain a sense of control. His pride and ego become a shield, not because he doesn't care, but because he cares too much. He wants to be seen as strong, as someone who has it all together. The fear of disappointing a woman, especially someone he deeply values, makes it even harder for him to admit when he's struggling. He may bottle up emotions, convincing himself that handling things alone is the best way to protect both himself and the relationship. The truth is, behind the exterior of strength, many men are silently battling fears they don't know how to express. Men often struggle to express vulnerability. In many societies, there's a persistent belief that men should be tough, self-reliant, and emotionally stoic. From an early age, they are taught to keep their emotions in check and to handle problems without showing weakness. This mindset can create a disconnect when it comes to sharing personal struggles or deep feelings. Men may find it challenging to talk about their fears, insecurities, or moments of doubt because doing so can feel like a breach of the societal expectations placed on them. When a man is vulnerable, he risks being judged or seen as less masculine, which makes it difficult for him to share his innermost thoughts. He may want to open up to let someone in, but the fear of being misunderstood or rejected often holds him back. This emotional armor is built as a defensive mechanism designed to protect his sense of self-worth. However, this can also prevent deeper emotional connections from forming as he keeps a part of himself hidden. Even in relationships where there's trust and affection, men might still hesitate to express vulnerability, not because they don't care, but because they fear that doing so might diminish the image they feel they must project. What they may not realize is that true emotional intimacy comes from being open and honest, from allowing themselves to be seen not just in their strongest moments, but also in their moments of weakness and vulnerability. Men also struggle with admitting their need for emotional support. While women are often encouraged to seek help or confide in others when they're going through tough times, men are often taught to deal with their problems on their own. This creates a reluctance to ask for help, whether it's from a partner, family member, or friend. The idea of needing emotional support can feel like a failure to them, as if they're not strong enough or capable enough to handle their own issues. In many cases, men might avoid reaching out because they don't want to burden others with their problems. They may convince themselves that they should be able to handle everything by themselves, and that asking for support will be a sign of weakness. This self-imposed isolation can lead to feelings of loneliness, frustration, and even depression, but it's not something they're always willing to admit. They may also feel embarrassed by their vulnerability and avoid discussing their emotions out of fear that they'll appear less competent or in control. However, what men often don't realize is that emotional support is not a sign of weakness. It's a crucial part of building healthy relationships. The ability to lean on others to admit that we need help is a strength, not a flaw. It shows self-awareness and the ability to create meaningful connections with others. The struggle to admit this need comes from deeply ingrained societal beliefs, but it's important to challenge those beliefs in order to foster healthier, more open relationships. Area where men struggle with admitting the truth is their fear of vulnerability. Society often expects men to be stoic, to maintain a facade of strength and invulnerability. As a result, many men are conditioned to hide their true feelings and avoid showing any signs of weakness, even when they're feeling insecure, hurt, or scared. This reluctance to be vulnerable can lead to emotional suppression and prevent men from fully connecting with their partners or loved ones. Admitting vulnerability is a complex challenge because it requires a level of trust and openness that men may not have been taught to embrace. The fear of being judged or rejected for showing vulnerability can make men feel exposed, as though they're risking their dignity or sense of self-worth. This fear is especially present in romantic relationships, where the desire to appear emotionally strong and stable can make it difficult to express feelings of uncertainty or neediness. Vulnerability is an essential component of building a deep, meaningful relationship. It allows for emotional intimacy and mutual understanding between partners. When men are able to admit their vulnerabilities, they open the door to deeper connection, fostering trust and empathy in the relationship. Although it can be difficult, learning to embrace vulnerability ultimately leads to healthier relationships, as it allows both partners to be seen and understood for who they truly are without the walls that typically guard their emotions. Men also struggle with admitting their insecurities, especially when it comes to their self-worth or their ability to meet expectations. Whether it's the pressure to provide, to succeed, or to live up to society's standards of masculinity, many men feel an internal struggle that they often keep hidden. These insecurities can stem from childhood experiences, societal conditioning, or personal setbacks, but they tend to manifest in ways that make it difficult for men to be open about their feelings of inadequacy. Admitting insecurity is challenging because it requires confronting feelings of vulnerability and fear of judgment. Men are often taught to conceal these feelings in order to maintain an image of strength, which leaves them with a sense of isolation and frustration. Rather than talking about their insecurities, men might bury them, which can lead to internal conflict and even resentment, both toward themselves and others. Addressing these insecurities can be an important step toward personal growth and building stronger relationships. When men admit their vulnerabilities, they open up the possibility for self-reflection and growth. Acknowledging insecurity does not make a man weak. In fact, it shows maturity and a willingness to improve. It also fosters deeper connections with others, as it invites vulnerability and creates space for support and empathy. Being open about insecurities can lead to healthier, more authentic relationships where both partners feel safe enough to express their true selves. Men often struggle with admitting their emotional needs, particularly when it comes to vulnerability and seeking support. Many men have been taught, either explicitly or implicitly, that asking for help or showing emotional weakness is a sign of fragility. This societal expectation, rooted in traditional ideas of masculinity, pressures men to act as though they don't need emotional support or affection. As a result, they may suppress their emotions, believing that they must always be the strong, self-sufficient partner. This reluctance to express emotional needs can create an internal conflict. On the one hand, men may deeply crave connection and emotional intimacy, but on the other hand, they feel compelled to keep these desires hidden. They might fear being judged or misunderstood if they admit that they want to feel heard, supported, or cared for in the same way that they often show care for others. As a result, this emotional disconnect can create distance in relationships, leaving both partners feeling unfulfilled or even frustrated. Learning to admit emotional needs requires a shift in mindset, where men feel safe enough to express themselves without fear of judgment. It also means creating relationships where vulnerability is not seen as a weakness, but as an opportunity for growth and deeper connection. When men open up about their emotional needs, they give their partners the chance to truly understand them and meet those needs in a way that strengthens the bond between them. Men often struggle with expressing their fear of failure, particularly when it comes to their relationships. Society frequently paints men as confident and unshakable, but underneath this exterior, they may harbor significant concerns about not living up to their own or others' expectations. Whether it's the fear of not being able to provide, protect, or meet emotional needs, these worries can weigh heavily on them. Admitting to this fear, however, is something many men avoid because they don't want to appear vulnerable or incapable. This fear of failure may manifest in various ways. Some men may distance themselves from their partners or shut down emotionally when they feel overwhelmed by the pressure to succeed. Others may act overly confident or boastful to mask the uncertainty they feel inside. The reluctance to express these fears can cause frustration, as their partners might misinterpret the behavior as aloofness, arrogance, or disinterest. Understanding that men too experience the fear of failure in relationships can help create a space where they feel safe to be vulnerable. When men can admit that they fear not being enough, they open the door for deeper communication and mutual support. This vulnerability allows their partners to offer reassurance, empathy, and understanding, strengthening the connection and fostering a healthier, more balanced relationship. It also helps dismantle the unrealistic expectations placed on men to always have everything figured out, giving them the freedom to be honest about their struggles. Men often find it difficult to admit when they need emotional support, especially in a relationship. Society has conditioned many men to believe that seeking help or expressing vulnerability is a sign of weakness. As a result, they may struggle to ask for the support they need, even when they're clearly struggling emotionally or mentally. This reluctance to reach out is rooted in cultural expectations that men must be strong, independent, and self-sufficient. The desire to appear tough and in control can prevent men from opening up about their feelings, even to their significant other. This can lead to feelings of isolation, as they may retreat inwardly, suppressing their emotions rather than expressing them. Partners may notice their distance or sense of detachment, but often misinterpret it as a lack of interest or care. Meanwhile, the man might be silently battling emotional stress or anxiety, but feels unable to share his burden because of the fear of appearing weak. This struggle can create tension in relationships, as the lack of emotional communication may lead to misunderstandings. However, when men are able to recognize that needing emotional support is a natural part of being human and not a sign of inadequacy, it opens the door for healthier, more open relationships. Encouraging an environment of emotional safety where seeking help is normalized can help men feel more comfortable being vulnerable and asking for the support they need without fear of judgment. Men often have difficulty admitting when they feel insecure, especially in romantic relationships. Society places immense pressure on them to appear confident, strong, and self-assured at all times. The fear of being perceived as weak or vulnerable can create a barrier to them expressing their true feelings. When insecurities arise, whether due to physical appearance, career choices, or their role in the relationship, many men internalize these emotions, leading to a sense of isolation. Instead of acknowledging their insecurities, they might compensate by putting up a facade of confidence or even becoming defensive. This can manifest in behaviors like arrogance or excessive pride, all stemming from an underlying fear of being judged or seen as inadequate. In relationships, this can create distance, as their partner may sense something is off but not fully understand what is going on beneath the surface. Admitting insecurities requires a level of vulnerability that many men struggle with due to fear of rejection or judgment. However, when a man is able to open up about these vulnerabilities, it not only deepens his emotional connection with his partner, but also promotes a sense of trust and understanding. It shows his commitment to growing and becoming a better version of himself. When a partner creates an environment where insecurities are met with compassion rather than criticism, it can foster a stronger bond and encourage more open, honest communication. Men also often struggle with admitting when they need emotional support. This is not because they don't value support, but because many men are taught from an early age to be self-reliant and handle their problems alone. They fear that asking for help might be perceived as a sign of weakness or dependency. As a result, many men bottle up their emotions, believing they should be able to manage everything on their own. This can create an inner conflict, as the desire for connection and support clashes with the pressure to maintain an image of emotional independence. When a man is feeling overwhelmed, whether it's due to work, stress, family obligations, or personal struggles, he may shy away from sharing these feelings with his partner, not wanting to appear vulnerable or incapable. Instead, he might isolate himself or retreat inward, which can be misunderstood by his partner as disinterest or avoidance. The truth is, he may deeply want support but is unsure how to express this need. This behavior can lead to frustration in relationships as the partner might feel left out or rejected when in fact the man simply doesn't know how to ask for help. Over time, this lack of emotional expression can cause a buildup of tension and emotional distance. However, when men are encouraged to express their need for emotional support in a safe and non-judgmental space, they are more likely to open up and share their true feelings, leading to a healthier, more connected relationship. When a man truly loves you, he wants to be the best version of himself for you. But that doesn't mean he doesn't have struggles, fears, and insecurities that he keeps inside. Understanding this will help you see him in a different light, allowing you to create a space where he feels safe enough to open up rather than feeling like he has to carry everything alone.